right, our next speaker is president of the West Virginia Citizens Defense League, which is West Virginia's largest Second Amendment advocacy organization. And the organization has nearly 4,000 members and supporters and focuses solely on gun rights in West Virginia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Keith Morgan.
Well, good afternoon. Looks like the weather's being cooperative. We've got a little cloud cover, a little shade. It was kind of amusing earlier watching. We had everybody right there in the shade of the building, and as the sun got higher and higher and people crowded closer and closer to the building. So now I've got this giant open space out in front of me here. For those of you who don't know me or don't know what the WVCDL is, who we are, what we do, I'm Keith Morgan. I'm the president of the organization. I've been president of the organization since about 2010. The WVCDL was founded in 2007 by an attorney out of the Beckley area named Jim Mullins. I was here. Jim is no longer with us. Jim was quite a guy in terms of knowledge of firearm laws. He could quote you firearm laws from any state in the union. He really knew his stuff, and we miss him. But since our inception in 2007, we're batting 1,000 against anti-gun bills. And if you don't think it happens in West Virginia, it does. We had a delegate that every year introduced a one handgun a month bill. Bloomberg-style gun laws, gun bills were coming in. We managed to defeat them all. Last session, we did something which, as far as I know, since the state was proclaimed in 1863, I don't think there's ever been 5 pro-gun bills passed in a single session. And the WVCDL passed 5 pro-gun bills through the session. So what we are, we're pro-gun, pro-hunting, pro-self-defense, pro-Second Amendment. That is our focus. And we are laser-focused on the state of West Virginia. We don't do national issues. Our membership sometimes gets annoyed with us about that, but it would dilute our strength. We remain focused purely on the West Virginia legislature. We do take some legal action. There are multiple routes to get policy accomplished. You can do legislation. You can also go the judicial route. We filed some lawsuits on behalf of West Virginians on gun rights in various cities in federal court. And there may be some more of that coming soon. We may have to sue quite a few sheriffs in our states for adding their own restrictions to concealed carry permit issuance. So that's a little bit of who we are. Now, why did I come here today? Why did I choose to speak? Well, I'm here to challenge you. I'm here to challenge your comfort zone. You look around this crowd, chances are you agree with 95% of the people you see on 95% of the issues. I think that's a fair statement. I feel very safe with that. But standing around with 60, 80 people you know and you agree with, well, that's easy. That's not hard to do at all. Anybody can do it. In fact, we all choose to do it. As human beings, we naturally do this. If you look at the groups you hang out on the internet, if you look at your circle of friends, for the most part, they think the way you do about the issues. So anybody who disagrees with you, well, they're branded a troll or a rabble-rouser, and they're ostracized from your thoughts, your group, the way you think, your people. Well, that's easy. It's easy to do that. So let me just, by a show of hands, how many of you here are members of Democratic Underground? I do not see one hand in the audience. Now this should stand to you as proof that you go where people think like you do. It's proof of that. None of us are members of the other side, so to speak, where they think, where they talk, where they discuss policy issues. We don't want to hear things that challenge us. That is natural as human beings. That goes for them too. If you want to peacefully recover our rights, it's hard. You have to be calm, but you have to be impassioned. You have to raise calm and logical points. Calm logic wins the day. If you're screaming like a lunatic, like Alex Jones, all you're doing is turning people off. You are turning off all those fence riders that sit out there and are trying to make a rational decision. When you're screaming like a breathless lunatic, you're turning these people off. Talking to strangers and talking to fence riders, people in the middle, that is not easy to do. It's hard. It's a challenge. Stepping out of your comfort zone, this comfort zone right here, we're all very comfortable right here. Stepping out of this comfort zone is hard. It takes work. So let me have another show of hands. How many of you in this crowd in the past week have engaged a stranger to discuss the Second Amendment? See quite a few hands. If you convince them to join the NRA, Gun Owners of America, or WVCDL, let's see them again. Got a few. I know them. Good job. So, we've got a lot of people that are talking about things, not a ton of action out there. Let me give you an example of the kind of things that'll make a difference. Last week, the WVCDL had a booth at the National Hunting and Fishing Days at Stonewall Resort. 10 hours a day for 3 days. We had WVCDL members out there stepping outside of their comfort zones. I watched these are people in my organization, step out there. They were nervous. Some of them were even shaking because walking up to strangers and talking about these issues is not comfortable for a lot of people. They'd come up to these people, jump right into a flowing crowd of thousands of people and say, "Hey, are you interested in defending your gun rights?" Now I got to tell you, you get a mixed reaction to that. You'll have somebody say no and walk away. Yeah, at National Hunting Fishing Day, sure, they're not interested in gun rights. You'll get people that say, "Well, who are you? What are you doing?" You know, and we got a lot of membership up there, but that's not what we were after. We're after spreading awareness, letting people know that there's an organization out there that's fighting for your gun rights, and letting people know that there's a need in West Virginia to fight for gun rights. Right now, as we speak here at the Pumpkin Festival in Milton, we've got a booth set up, we've got volunteers out there. They're stepping out into that crowd, they're engaging strangers, and they're talking about the issue. This is what we need in this state. Now, that's not to say that this kind of work can't be fun, even though it's kind of hard. Up at Hunting and Fishing Days on Saturday afternoon, this black Escalade rolls up, real nice Cadillac Escalade, you know, $80,000 ride. And guess who plops out? Senator Joe Manchin, out of pure serendipity, right beside our booth. Now, how many of you here have watched Joe Manchin arrive on scene? Anybody seen that? Oh, he steps out and it's, "I'm here, I am magnificent, come worship me." That is truly his demeanor. Well, what he got instead, I'll give you guys a little backstory. Joe Manchin, this was actually mentioned in an earlier speech, Joe Manchin got on the Morning Joe and said, "I only need 3 bullets in my gun." So of course, you know, a week later, the WVCDL's got 500 people in the streets protesting it. And what do? We're calling him Elmer Fudd, because Joe Manchin thinks the Second Amendment's about duck hunting. So, now Joe Manchin does not like this nickname. I got to tell you that. He called me a couple of weeks later, had a half-hour conversation. I was very flattered to be having a half-hour conversation with a United States Senator. The summary of the conversation was basically, "Quit picking on me." "Well, Joe, stop trying to trample our rights. We'll stop calling you Elmer Fudd." But anyway, so old Joe plops out of his Escalade right next to us, and he's expecting for the throngs to come running and worship him. And instead, what he got were chants: "Elmer Fudd, Elmer Fudd." He was not pleased. He actually came over and decided to engage the WVCDL on Second Amendment rights. That was probably not a good idea. I encourage you guys to check out the WVCDL's YouTube channel, and you can see how that went. Hello to the Huey. Oh, is the Huey coming in? All right. So, again, back to this, I digress. The WVCDL members are stepping out of their comfort zones. They're doing this hard work. And I got to tell you that engaging people outside your comfort zone in the face of American Idol and the NFL and free stuff, where is he going to park that thing? You can't land it there. So we've got a mentality where it's easier to sit home and watch a football game. It's easier to sit and watch TV than it is to get out and get involved. All right, where's our basic landing support unit? Somebody clear an LZ. Who's got smoke? All right, hopefully he'll set it down over there. Anyway, one of the things that makes this harder for us, I think it's safe to say that everybody here is an Appalachian. We live somewhere in the Appalachian mountain chain. Appalachian culture is a little bit different than the rest of the country. Let's see where he goes. So, in West Virginia, things are a little bit different. Appalachian culture is a little different than the rest of the country, and this actually runs from New York all the way down to Arkansas. It's true in all of Appalachia. For 150 years or more in the Appalachian mountain chain, a guy could live in his town and maybe visit the town on the other side of the mountain twice in his whole life. Why? Well, it was physically difficult to get to the other side of the mountain. We didn't have U.S. highways. We didn't have interstates. So a mentality developed among Appalachians, and it's one that I actually, for most of the time, I actually rather like this. And it's over here on my side of the mountain. I'm going to do what I do. What you do over on your side of the mountain, well, that's your business. And when you engage people on these issues, about half the time you find out, you get something like, well, they're going to do what they're going to do. You know, people just, they will not engage with you. It's not my business. It's not in my hollow. It's not in my valley. It's not on my mountain. It doesn't concern me. Yeah, it does. And the challenge is getting people to understand it. So we can't reclaim the fight for our rights if we're not willing to step out of our comfort zones. And I've got some bad news for you. I've got some things you don't want to hear, but it's true. There's no Ronald Reagan coming. There's no conservative messiah that is going to step up. A Charlton Heston is not going to be elected President of the United States. It's not going to happen. It's not coming. If you're hoping for that, if you're waiting for the next Ronald Reagan, if you're waiting for the next Charlton Heston, we're doomed. We're all doomed. We're doomed to definitely to tons of gun control. But who is the next Ronald Reagan? Who's the next Charlton Heston? It's you. You are. Because if it's not you, then who's it going to be? John McCain? Mitt Romney? John McCain would have driven I believe in my heart that John McCain would have driven the exact same assault weapons push as Barack Obama. Mitt Romney has already signed an assault weapons ban. And these are the people we need to wait for? No. You are the people we're waiting for. We are the people we're waiting for. Our enemy is ignorance. Our enemy is apathy. When you engage your friends and neighbors on these issues, you get doe-eyed stares. They don't know what you're talking about. It's true. Anybody that's done it knows it's true. Do you guys know that since the dawn of television, since the Nixon-Kennedy debate, there has not been a president elected, a president of the United States under 6 feet tall? Why is that? Americans vote on charisma, not issues right now. It's true. Television turned us into charisma-based voters. And I can't figure out what being tall and pretty and having a pleasant speaking voice has to do at all with the Second Amendment to the Constitution. If America wants to keep their recognition of their Second Amendment rights, now I say recognition, those rights are ours. They exist. They are ours. They are endowed by our Creator and they are inalienable. But if you wish to keep them, you got to step out of your comfort zone. You got to start engaging people. You've got to realize that standing around at conservative rallies with like-minded people is the easy part. It's an exercise in navel-gazing. I'm not telling you not to do it. Come out here, get energized, get fired up for the fight. But the real work is not here, it's elsewhere. There's no Reagan coming. Thomas Jefferson will never again be president of the United States. There's only you. Thank you.